Welcome, fans of pro wrestling and everyone else. We are your hosts as always. I'm Chad. He's Marcus, the glorious one himself. We are fresh off the heels of, NBA debut playoff weekend. Cavs are 1-0. Woot woot. Peyton Pritchard just won the Sixth Man Award. Apparently, Minecraft is doing well in the box office. AEW has completed a great weekend of shows. TNA had a pretty mediocre offering on Thursday, but we'll get to that here in a second. Nothing else happened, right? We're good? Zombie Jesus. That was Sunday. Zombie Jesus. That's come back. Um, yeah, it was WrestleMania weekend, and we already weren't excited about this card. This card was bad, and I remember before the times of Marcus, we call these the ungood times. I had a gentleman by the name of Ed, and he was a fine man. No disparaging. When I was younger, I would say dumb things, but he and I just were not malleable. We didn't get along. But he said something that I think a lot of people thrive and strive by to these days, and that's when the card doesn't look good on paper, it usually is good, and when the card looks good on paper, it usually isn't good. Now that's normally not the case, but it's one of those things that people like to believe, and I guess to an extent that's fine if you want to believe it. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to the fact that when a card isn't properly booked, it's likely to underwhelm heading in, and gives you the opportunity to be impressed afterwards. And when a card is overhyped, it has to meet that hype. Otherwise, it's seen as a letdown. But those cards are usually still better than the other cards. It's just when you look at them in the vortex of the immediacy, it seems like an underperforming card, heading into it, was the better card than the one that was overhyped and didn't deliver on the hype, because the overhyped card might still be pretty damn good. It just might not be good enough for the hype. While the performing card may surpass expectations, but the expectations was a bar on the floor, so really, there's only up. This WrestleMania was not that. From all the discourse online, the only thing people are talking about are aura and moments. And that seems to be who cares about the wrestling? It's like going to see the Pirates of the Caribbean and going, you know what I really came here to see? The popcorn buckets. Fuck off.
But that's what's funny about that. That's how people are being trained now.
Yeah.
WWE obviously has their audience dog trained, but that's where a lot of it is now. Like a lot of these companies are selling a lot of these movie events based off of, oh, we're coming up with a weird, particularly for the comic book movies, like these crazy popcorn bucket designs now.
The Dune popcorn bucket is still the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And Marcus, I want to be very clear. When I say the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, I've seen photos of the Holocaust. I've seen the aftermath of 9/11. I've seen my father's attempt to combine the meatloaf with A1. I've seen it all. I've seen horrible things. And the Dune popcorn bucket is still A tier, one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is in a category of its own. It is nightmare fuel. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely
Yeah,
right. And listen, I think with a movie theater, you kind of have to, because, man, I don't want to deal with 70 other people hooting and hollering over a movie. I'd rather watch it in my basement by myself, or maybe with my girl, maybe even a cat or two, and enjoy the silence that comes around the outside of the movie. I'm not a big theater fan. It's like I hate going to concerts and hearing people going, "Woo, woo, woo." I did not pay $90 to hear you go "woo" every 5 seconds, because you need to be heard at
yeah.
all times so that you feel special and unique. This is
All
not
it
your
takes,
concert. I did not pay for the Woo Girl concert. Shut the fuck up.
yeah, all it takes is one weird couple, one overly loud person, one unnecessary kid, and your whole experience is ruined, and you can't get that money or that time back.
Tell you what, we went and saw the Voyage of the Demeter. I think is what it was called. The Dracula prequel. You ever see that?
Yeah, that was the one that was recently released about the boat.
Yeah, I think last October.
Yeah.
Solid
How was
flick.
that?
Yeah, it was solid.
Okay.
It was solid. I wouldn't say, if you're looking at vampire Dracula mythology movies, you might, if you've seen the best there is to offer, I would say then go and see the Voyage of the Demeter. I think it's called the Demeter. I could be wrong. But what I most remember about that movie, it's not the plot or the characters or it. This something teen girl, seven seats down from us was getting finger blasted by some dude who was trying his best to win her over. I went. So here's the thing. There are times when I do very smart and intelligent things. This was not one of those times. At one point, I thought, because you know how like sometimes in movie theaters you'll have like speakers that are screwed into the ceiling and they hang down. Well, I
Yeah.
thought the bass on the theater was so loud that it was shaking one of the speakers. Because every so often I hear whenever like the sound was at its highest. I'm like, oh man, like, that's really obnoxious. So I went and told the movie manager, I'm like, hey, I think one of your speakers is blowing out in the movie because like I'm hearing this rattling, irking sound, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I come back to my seat, and as I'm sitting down, my girl looks at me and goes, she's getting finger banged. And I look down, and sure as shit, the sound was coming from her seat.
Uh,
But like, I don't remember the movie. I remember that. So you're right.
yeah. Yeah. Nothing sucks worse. Well, the pun intended. When you're trying to tune into a movie and you just hear what sounds like a suckling sound behind you, just go, "Oh dear
Is someone
God!"
eating corn
Now,
on the cob? What is going on? But I think that's a great analogy for WrestleMania because right now all we remember are the moments and not the matches. And I hate to be that person. But if you only think wrestling is the moments, then you're a moron. That's like saying a musical artist's only good song is the one where the chorus is the only thing you remember. You're a fucking idiot. That's like saying I only watch Marvel movies for the post-credit scenes. You're a fucking idiot. And anyone who thought WrestleMania was good, cool. It's a subjective opinion. Anyone who thought WrestleMania made the product better, you're a fucking idiot. Specifically when you talk about Joe Hendry. And let's talk about Joe Hendry. Because what a goddamn embarrassment. I know Sean Ross Sapp just posted something basically saying, hey, TNA sees this as a net win. And I'll point out that Raw is getting around 2 million viewers on Netflix, and there's a rumor that they're actually down 30% on Netflix now from where they were on USA Network. And if that's the case, that means they're hovering around like 1.2, 1.3 million viewers. Now, I don't know if those are legitimate numbers. That's just, something that's been rumored. But anyway, they're between 1.5 and 2.5 million viewers. They were at like, what, 9 when they debuted on Netflix? Not great. Not even good. And Netflix is not going to sit here and let a show sap money from its account. Like, they owe $1 billion. Netflix is not in the business to waste money, and they don't. They will cancel shows that are moderately successful because they're not successful enough. And I hate to break it to anyone who thinks the WWE is untouchable. They aren't. If their numbers keep falling at the price they're being paid, Netflix will cancel them. They have no problems ending deals. There's always an opt-out clause. There's always a cancellation clause. And Netflix will cancel Raw if it's not performing at the standards that they expect. In fact, I think when you look at the numbers of Dynamite, wait, is it Dynamite? Which one's on Wednesday?
Dynamite.
Dynamite? What they call it, Thunder. When you look at Dynamite's numbers on cable, plus their HBO Max live stream, plus their Day Plus ones, or whatever it is, Day Plus threes, or whatever it is, I think they're at like 1.6 million viewers. Which, if the numbers for WWE are any indication, like they're not far behind. And I think people need to realize that. Like, this is a company that's not doing well. And I made an analogy on Twitter that I think bodes well, and people should hear me. Because it'll help put things in context. If you have 100 items of something and you're selling them for $1, and you sell all 100, you can say your item is popular. If you're selling 100 items at $100 a piece and you sell 2 items, you can say you're at your most profitable you've ever been. But you cannot say you're the most popular you've ever been. WWE had 2 consecutive nights of sellouts, Marcus. Except night 2 had more people than night 1, so how the fuck is that a sellout? It's not. You can sit and be like, well, we only put, 60,000 tickets on sale. Okay, cool. And both nights should be sellouts. You didn't only put 60,000 tickets on sale. You just said that both nights were sellouts, even though they weren't. This is a stadium that could hold somewhere between 70 and 80,000 for a concert or for a wrestling venue setup. So, there was plenty of space left. Now, that's not to say that WrestleMania wasn't an overwhelming success financially, but when you're charging people, $1,000 for nosebleed seats, yeah, you're going to be able to say it was the most profitable WrestleMania ever. But it's not making your company better.
Yeah, the truest stat is that their numbers and stats are as overinflated as their ticket prices.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Joe Hendry thing, let's throw out the idea of great exposure. TNA's been around for as long as the WWE has. Keep that in mind. Since the name change, I think WWE has 3 months on TNA. That's it. Because I want to say the name change happened in May of 2002. I could be wrong. TNA debuted in July of 2020. July of 2002. June of 2002. Sorry. They have a month on the name change. So, think about that. You have a month difference between the timeline that the WWE has existed in its current form and the creation of TNA. The notion that you are somehow going to filter wrestling fans from WWE to TNA at this point in time is laughable. It is pure laughability. The only 2 things that will get more eyes on TNA right now are getting it on a bigger streaming platform for major events and getting it on a major television or cable network that's still doing well with live viewers. Those are the only 2 things that will help. That's it. You can throw 1,000 wrestlers on WrestleMania from TNA, and it won't help nearly as much as getting it on a bigger platform. Facts. So the notion that you had to sacrifice Joe Hendry to the mid-tier moron that is Randy Orton is a laughable statement. And I'm going to go through every reason why. First and foremost, Randy Orton is a legend in name only. Marcus, I cannot, and I thought about this. I was at the gym, and I was having deep contemplative thoughts about wrestling, as one does. Some people think about solving world hunger, fixing the racial issues in America, the financial inequalities that we suffer from. I think about wrestling. I'm not well. And I thought to myself, I'm a pretty... I have biases, like we all do. I think Randy Orton as a person should be kneecapped, stabbed, and thrown out of an airlock. He is accused of, has admitted to, and has been alluded to doing heinous things with his genitalia to other people. He himself in a WWE magazine said that he would randomly put his genitals on another person without consent. That's sexual assault. Any way you want to cut that, sexual assault. Freddie Prinze Jr. has alluded to stories being true about him walking around with his genitals being out, where he would rub himself in front of other people and force them to shake his hands. Freddie Prinze Jr. was asked, would he ever shake Randy Orton's hand, and he said, fuck no. So there's been stories about Randy Orton. He's shit in people's bags or baskets. I forget which one. He's called people horrendous names. He's used racial slurs. He's a bad person.
All the times he should have been fired, but got saved. Because
of who his best friend is. He's objectively a bad person. Well, he admitted he was young and immature. He's still that guy. What was it, 3 years ago? All this came out, and he went around shaking everyone's hand to make a mockery of the quote-unquote investigation. He is a bad dude. He went AWOL from the Marines because he couldn't hack it. He's a bad dude. Stop it. He's not just a bad dude, though. He's a bad wrestler. I can think of one good match. And I mean, when I say good, I don't mean TV acceptable. I mean, matches that I think to myself, if I were to watch a match with this one person, what match would I rewatch? Because I think a good match has to be rewatchable. Right? I think that's the baseline for a good match. And I think if I was going to rewatch one match for Randy Orton, it would probably be the 2004 Backlash match he had with Mick Foley. or maybe, and this is more nostalgia, not talent based, but maybe the WrestleMania 3-on-2 match between Evolution and the Rock and Sock Connection. But that'd be it.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you think of a match with Randy Orton where you're like, that was so good I need to rewatch it? Be honest. Like if you can think of one,
Yeah,
I'll give you the
I,
floor.
I can think of a few matches. And ironically enough, we were going to be referencing a lot of his early stuff. A match he had on Raw with Edge in 2004. They ran it back in 2006. I like both of those. Um, Definitely the one that you referenced with Cactus Jack, because much like, ironically enough, Cactus Jack ended up making both him and Triple H.
Fucking
Um,
McFoley.
okay, Foley. And then I'd say any match in that 2011 stretch of Summers with that's Summer stretch in 2011 with Christian, but that's got everything to do with Christian, and even Orton would admit that.
I would say that his match with Edge maybe had a lot of to do with that as well, because
Yeah,
while he was coming off of his broken neck, I do believe that Edge still had a lot more of his athleticism in that moment than he would say 2 years later.
yeah,
So, yeah, a lot of his best work was some time ago, and even his best work I wouldn't say is up to par. So when we talk about like pairing Randy Orton with Joe Hendry, right? The argument is, well, he's a legend. Well, no, he's a WWE legend. That's not the same thing because a WWE legend can be as magnificent as Stone Cold Steve Austin or as Coco Beware. They're both in the same Hall of Fame, people. That's why you gotta be selective with who you put in your Hall of Fame. That's why I appreciate what the Major League Baseball Writers Association does because it's not the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Fame. Can you think of any great promos Randy Orton has ever cut?
no,
I'm
I can't remember it off the top of my head. I mean, so much when we're going through it. The real thing that I think people have association with him more so than they probably won't admit it, or maybe they will. It's not his wrestling; it's everything around it. It's the blowing up of the face and the schizophrenic tendencies and all that. Like the 2009 bald, I'm punting everybody's head off Orton. That's where he really kind of ticked up in terms of visibility, in terms of like, I got to see this maniac
th-
and whatever he's doing.
this
But
is
other than that, I'm not.
this is a joke. I want to be very clear. This is a joke. This is not serious. But you mean his Randall KKK Orton face?
Yeah, yeah, the enemy. I'm trying to see. I can't.
RKKKO.
Okay. Oh God, I wish you could tweet it. But yeah, that's pretty much yeah.
So I wouldn't say he had any great promos. I wouldn't even say he had any good promos. Like when I say great promos, I think of I'm the Stinger, I'm not done yet. I think of Hot Times. I think of CM Punk. Really, like you throw that man cuts a great promo every year. Tell me when
Yeah.
I'm telling lies. The Summer of
Uh-huh.
Punk. The pipe bomb.
Yeah, one of our
I think.
personal
What's that?
yeah, one of our personal favorites. I made something the Jay Lethal's I made you made that belt type
Oh yeah,
joint.
the Jay Lethal, Jay Briscoe promo from I think it was like Final Battle 2012 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. I still think it's CM Punk's best promo ever, personal opinion. But like then you got like some like good promo skills like Samoa Joe. I don't think Samoa Joe's S tier as a
Yeah.
promo. He's A tier. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
good promos here. Like when he was cutting his promo on Scott Hall 2007. What was that? Genesis. That was fantastic. When he was calling out AJ's wife, that was hilarious. I wouldn't say it was great.
How's our girl? Oh, how's our old girl Wendy doing? Like just anytime Samoa Joe gets unhinged on the mic, it's must see. Like him just him being in NXT, going around being mad, just going Regal. Like that was brilliant.
Then of course, like when we talk about Randy Orton, he's not a great wrestler. He's not a great promo. He's really only had the one move, the RKO, and it's his entire gimmick. His entire gimmick is one move, and he does it well. But like all of his great, and this is the thing that again that people need to realize. Randy Orton has never had a great RKO. Like when you think about what Randy Orton does, he himself has never contributed to a great RKO. Every great RKO he's ever given is because of the person taking it. You know, think about arguably I think there's two. What would you say is his are his two most famous RKOs?
People would say the Evan Bourne one,
Yep.
and uh, for me personally, it's the the lesser of two evil assholes with him RKO and Hogan across that damn truck.
All right, that is pretty good. I would say the
But
Seth Rollins curb stomp RKO at WrestleMania.
yes,
I would say those are probably his two most famous ones.
yeah, Bourne and that one, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But
when you think
to
about it,
your
like
point,
it was Seth Rollins who pulled that off, and it was Evan Bourne who pulled that off. Like that wasn't because of anything
yeah,
Randy did.
and two more people that got to get honorable mentions that took it. Jeff Hardy has taken sequels, and he should damn near get. He should literally go hand a slammy to RVD.
Yeah, I don't. I think the RVD one happened in the end of 2007, if I remember correctly.
Something to that effect. Literally doing handstands every time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
RVD took the RKO like the
yeah,
Rock took the Stone Cold Stunner.
yeah. Ricochet balled it quite well too. But yeah, RVD sort of like, yeah, exactly.
But like think about that. Randy Orton has never been great because of anything he's done. So the idea that he's a great legend is laughable. This is gonna sound a little bit peculiar, but follow me here. Randy Orton to the WWE history is Eric Young to TNA's history. I would challenge anyone to tell me that Eric Young's a big merch seller, that he's a great promo, that he's this or that. He's just a guy who knows a lot of the people in charge and benefits off of that. Randy Orton is nepotism incarnate. And nepotist Orton over here has gotten older. He's gotten slower. He's more injury prone.
Yeah,
He's not, as average and mediocre as he was in his prime. He's even worse now. He doesn't move as well. He's steroided to the gills, allegedly. But when you think about Orton now, he's 45. People were bashing Hogan and Shawn Michaels and Edge and all these other guys for being 45, 46, 47 and winning matches over guys who were 40 and 42 and 43 and 44. Edge
yeah,
defeated Finn Balor when Balor was 42 and Edge was 47. Everyone's like, he should have put Finn Balor over. He's so old. Like they're like 5 years apart. What are you doing?
yeah. He definitely gets praised the most for doing the least. He looks great. Like I said, so much of it is the character. Now you got people singing along with the theme song for a good stretch of several years there. He kind of just rode the momentum off the fact that his RKO went viral um, off of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of that stretch, the stretch of him with Riddle, which is somebody else that doesn't deserve praise on any sort of personal level. He was injured, so he was again doing the least because he couldn't really do anything at all because of his back. And now, like you said, he's older. He's not where he once was, of course, when he's younger, which is natural. But he also apparently has like uh, two two elimination chambers worth of metal in his back.
Yeah. But also keep in mind that like Joe Hendry's like a decade younger. I think Joe Hendry's like 35, 36. And you had the opportunity to help make him, and you didn't. But well, he went viral. I didn't see anything about it. Here's what going viral actually means. I think people don't fucking realize this. Being seen in your ecosystem is not going viral. I have a Instagram account that I mostly just, sometimes I view a little wrestling on it, but it's mostly just memes and cats. Because I'm very healthy. I'm very well. If something went viral, it would be on my timeline. It'd be on, the front page of, whatever website, Yahoo or what have you. It'd be on those suggested websites that you get when you open up Google or whatever browser you use, and it shows you a list of articles that you can click on. Joe Hendry didn't fucking go viral. He made as much wrestling news noise as any other thing that happened at WrestleMania. TNA didn't get trendy. There was no trending for TNA on Twitter. I don't understand when people say he went viral. What the fuck they're talking about, because it didn't happen. TNA was not trending on WrestleMania Night 2. Joe Hendry was. But here's the thing. Joe Hendry was trending for all the wrong reasons. Now, some fans think that this is good exposure. And fine, you can think that. It's not, though. Because you got squashed. It was a squash match. And I saw one guy, he's like, it wasn't he didn't get, what was it? He's like, he didn't get, oh, fuck, what did he say? I even mentioned it.
What, buried?
Yeah, he's like, he didn't get buried, squashed, but he did get buried. I'm like, all right, he didn't get buried, but he did get squashed. I'm like, they're fucking synonyms, you moron. Like, go back to third grade English.
He didn't die, but he definitely perished. He's so goofy ass.
He's not a racist, but he doesn't like anyone who's not white.
Oh God! Like you just.
He's not a vegan, but he doesn't eat anything that came from an animal. What? The fuck is he, a Catholic?
You know what, Jay? He did go viral. He went viral for somebody that is clearly being prepped to become just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and that's exactly why he took this offering. A 3-minute match where you go for your finisher and Randy basically makes you look like a punk. Because this was the only match I watched in WrestleMania. And I watched it only because I wanted to see, because I thought it would be Nick Aldis. I was hoping it was Nick Aldis. That would have been so cool. And seeing how this match went, it should have been Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is pushing 50. The prime of his career has long been gone. I don't think he's wrestled in, 6, 7, 8 years. You could have had Adam Pearce have a little WrestleMania moment, have him come out and lose. Instead, we went with Joe Hendry. And here's the thing. Dave Meltzer even pointed this out, and goddamn, Dave Meltzer's been vindicated today on Twitter, I'll tell you what. But Dave Meltzer said, they could have done, Aleister Black, Rusev, and then he lists off some other guys. But he's like, they didn't want them to take this, to get eaten in this spot. They saw Joe Hendry as someone that they could throw in the spot and not have to worry about, because they knew it would make them look bad. Because, if they wanted to put an Andrade or whomever in the spot instead, they could have. But they didn't want them to look bad. And Dave Meltzer's 100% right.
And to your point, they're going to bury those guys their own way.
Yeah, but
like they've done everybody else. They're going to bury them their own way. Yeah, I'm gonna just let Chad. I'm hoping Chad just completely goes off about the triple I thing.
Oh God,
but
we can talk about that here in a second.
That's a whole nother thing. But okay, Joe Hendry went viral. Heard Joe Hendry. Name one. Somebody please tell me one time they heard TNA once.
You know who else went viral? Hawk to you. You know who else went viral? Charlie bit my finger. You know who else went viral? So many people every single fucking day. It's not a good thing. He went viral. Going viral doesn't make you money. It makes you infamous. There's a difference there. I hate to say it, Jake Paul's not viral. He's just a draw. I hate that.
Yeah. Charlotte takes a tumble. Anybody remember that? The girl that was singing and then fell back and almost broke her back off a table. I'll show Chad that video later.
No, I know. I've seen that video. I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
the little what the fuck? He's a little singing boy in a Walmart. I think it was like yodeling. He went viral. Don't tase me, bro. He went viral. Yeah, he went viral. Yeah. It's not impressive to go viral.
The a-hole that was going through Walmart pouring cereal.
Yeah.
Bowls of cereal all over. Like this, it's not a this reward for being great. Like they throw, it's just like you said, just like Meltzer said. I'm not a huge Meltzer guy, but he's being vindicated. Sean Ross Sapp is being vindicated to high hell.
Yes, he is.
But they said like they threw him out there because until he works for them, which he's gonna be disposable when he eventually goes there too. He's disposable because he's the TNA champion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're milking him the same way they milked Jordan, except it made more sense for Jordan because she literally had done everything there was to do in TNA because she had been there for better part of a decade?
Close to.
Or something to that effect? if anybody if anybody thinks they'll ever see the words world champion associated with Joe Hendry once he eventually clearly comes to WWE, you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. Jay
Killer Cross
Uso
though
is
is
the
a
world
world
heavyweight
champion, right?
champion. Huh? Yeah.
Killer Cross is a world champion now. Mike Bennett was world champion. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley are simultaneous world champions on 3 different brands. They're not. Joe Hendry's not going to find success in that company. But here's the biggest issue, right? Randy's not that guy anymore. And I understand they wanted Randy to go into a feud with John Cena. That's cool. There's 1,000 different ways you could have done this to make Randy look good and also get your Joe Hendry moment and also save him for John Cena. How many tag teams sat at home over this weekend that the WWE employs? You couldn't have had a heel tag team like Pretty in Power or whatever the fuck those two dudes with the crop tops are called. You couldn't have had,
Yeah.
Otis come out with who, Tozawa. You couldn't have had the Machine Guns. Who the
Well, shit, they're saving all of them for Friday when they have a ladder match
yeah, I
for
don't care.
a multi-team ladder match for the tag titles that they could have had on this show.
You have all these guys, right? You could have had them come out and jump Randall Keith Orton, and Joe Hendry could have made the save. You didn't even need to be a match. I know this is going to sound awful because of who I'm about to reference, but one of the best moments of WrestleMania 21 was Hulk Hogan coming up to beat up Muhammad Hassan. Like, you don't need to have a WrestleMania match to have a WrestleMania moment. Best moment in WrestleMania 8, I think, right? Was it 8? Was it 7? I think it was 8. Was Elizabeth hopping the railing and hugging Macho Man. Reuniting them. The Nickies. So, like, all these fetishists, these brain feds, they're all like, well, he got great exposure. Yeah, you could have gotten him great exposure without making him look like a chump. Well, he's not complaining about it. Yeah, because he wants to work there. So he's not going to complain about the shitty work conditions and I'm sure the shitty paycheck he got. Everyone's like, well, he got a WrestleMania paycheck. He's not a WWE employee. He's not going to get a WrestleMania paycheck the way you think he is. And considering the way they've cut the budget over the last several years and the fact that they don't do pay-per-views anymore, that WrestleMania paycheck ain't that impressive anymore. There's no DVD rights. There's no pay-per-view rights. The money for a great selling pay-per-view no longer exists. So, like, the WrestleMania paycheck does not exist in the same sense that it used to. So, no, there is no defense for the use of how they use Joe Hendry. There's 1,000 different ways you could have used Joe Hendry on this event that wouldn't have made this match, this whole fucking angle, you know, gone the way it did. Like, you could have done so many things better. You could have had Randy Orton and him team up in a tag match. You could have had a back and forth match. You could have had Joe Hendry dominate for 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and then Randy could have low blowed him and hit him with an RKO, and then, oh, cheeky Randy, because that seems to be his whole gimmick is, oh, he's a good guy, but he does bad things. You could have done this so many different ways. It didn't need to be because it felt like, Marcus, if I may be so bold, it felt like they were trying to make him earn his spots. Like, he went for his finisher, that choke slam, double slam he does.
Yeah,
And Randy just kind of looked at him like, "What the fuck you doing?"
He treated him like Mark Henry treated Orton in 2011 when he took the towel off him and he kept going for the RKO and Henry was not like, I'm not falling, you idiot.
It's worse than that. It felt like he got treated the same way Samoa Joe treats a jobber who jumps off the top rope at him.
Still the best move in all of wrestling.
Oh, it's great.
But yeah. Look, this is a long all this stuff with Joe. I love Joe. Love the success he's gonna, earned every bit of it in TNA. Every bit of praise Chad has ever given him, he's been worthy of. But this is just a long ass job interview with TNA being put down as a reference, but ultimately having no de facto um, reason for him getting hired.
I think
He's
we're at a
just
I think we're at a
yeah.
point where the belt needs to come off him now. I think he's irreparably harmed. Because now, if he's the best you have to offer, the best you have to offer can't beat a mid Carter in the WWE. That's what
It's
that
it,
says.
It's the WWE's the girl that comes around, hanging around, that wants to be the third wheel in your relationship while constantly telling you that they're not doing anything salacious with your mate when you're not looking. And the whole time somebody has to come up to you and like Chad's girl and go, they're getting finger banged in the.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's exactly what's happening. It's sad, but I mean it's anybody and look anybody because people like to debate Chad all day. Good luck with that. I'd rather be running from people in paintball because it's not gonna happen. At the end of the day, one thing you can debate him on everything he said. One thing that you can't debate, I don't care how far up the ass of WWE you have your head, and I never do this. I rarely do this. That shit that we saw at Mania would never happen the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Debate him on anything else. You can't debate that. It'll never happen the other way around. They wouldn't even let somebody 3 tiers lower than Randy get that treatment on one of TNA shows.
NXT has sent the worst female wrestlers they have to TNA. They're eating up time. They're uninteresting. They're boring. They're all the same. They're WWE system wrestlers, and at maybe 20 years ago that wouldn't have been an issue because so many of them would have their own identities and personalities, but they all have the same generic gimmick and the same generic setup and the same generic outfits, and they're all gonna like, even if they don't win, the knockouts or the knockouts tag team titles. They're going to get 10 minutes. They're going to get 12 minutes. They're going to get 14 minutes. They're going to be made to look good. On the flip side of things, Alexander Hammerstone, when he was with TNA, had a 4 or 5 minute match with Obafemi. What the fuck was that about? Like, I understand Moose losing to Obafemi. In my opinion, Moose is on the downturn of his career. He's past his prime. Still valuable, still reliable, still a good hand. But at 40, Moose's job now is to help build new stars. And so, like, losing to Obafemi isn't the worst thing in the world, especially because Obafemi is, earmarked to be the next big thing on the main roster. But when you have your best guy, your top dude, the pinnacle of your company, losing to a 45-year-old jobber with a history of behavioral issues in a 3 minute squash match that buried the championship, the company, and the idea of you as a worker, there's no defending that. And you could, this is not an argument or a conversation that we're having where he shouldn't have been on the show at all, or he didn't deserve to be on the show, or what have you. It's an argument that they didn't use him as well as they could have. And if you are arguing against that, you are a fetishist, brain-fed moron that will bob and kneel at the crotch of Papa H as many times a day as he demands you to. And if you are that kind of person, you are not responsible enough to be engaged in discourse and conversation where we hold things accountable and look at things objectively. I am not so washed up in any one thing or company where I can't pull back and go, that was a bad idea. But some other people are. And I'm sorry, but you can't use the exposure gimmick as a $1 billion company as a reason for why you mistreated an ally, an associate, a friend. That's what carny indie promoters say. I can't pay you, but I'll pay you an opportunity. I'll pay you an exposure. No, you'll pay me in respect, motherfucker. You'll pay me in money. If my top guy is going to lose in 3 minutes, you're paying me $100 million a year, and if not, go fuck yourself. Because I am
Did
not going to risk my company's legacy and my champion's reputation for your stupid ass moment that will not matter in 4 weeks.
and I'm say these two things. I'm gonna close out on it. Like, how close do people think Hendry is gonna come to sniffing an actual match on a pay per view, let alone Mania with Randy Orton once he actually works there?
Probably not very.
And speaking of Papa H, to your point, Triple H will bring his big snoz ass and in a post post-show press conferences and mention every stat known to man. He will he will mention how many feathers Charlotte had on her damn jacket she wore to the ring. Not once in that press conference, talking about what happened, talking about Joe Hendry. This is supposed to be a partnership. He oversees everything. There's not one thing that goes on in that damn company that he does not know about or is not directly involved in or have his hand in. Not once did he mention anything about TNA other the letters, talk about anything related to the partnership, talk about the talent roster, how lie about how fluid the relationship's been, the how easy it's been to work with them, how people behind the scenes, what have you, not once. And of course, nobody in the media room asked him about it
No.
because everybody's in on the narrative. They bought one company on the weekend and they're clearly farming the hell out of the other.
We're going to talk more about the Triple A of it all next week, I think, because there's
Yeah,
a lot to unpack there, and it's not good. Anyone who thinks the Triple A purchase is a good thing is fooling themselves. But I want to get through three other shows, and this took us 40
yeah.
minutes. So we're going to pencil that for next week and table it for now. Let's talk about. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Let's talk about Unbreakable. I would call this almost unbearable. I love TNA. I've seen them 3 or 4 times. You know, they don't come to Ohio much, and when they do, I make a concerted effort to go. They are. If I was to have a promotion, that would be my promotion. They're my promotion. They are the closest thing to what I had with WCW, and I've been watching pretty steadily for 20 plus years. That being said, I think Unbreakable was a utter disaster of a show in booking, not in terms of quality. The matches were fine. This is not the best roster they've had. I'm right now watching the Machine Guns versus Speedball Bailey and John Gresham in a tag match, and it's fantastic. And all four of these dudes are no longer with this company. Instead, we have AJ Francis, Ryan Nemeth, not exactly A tier talent. But I'll run through the results real quick, and then I'll explain why I thought this was a mistake. EY defeated Zachary Wentz and JDC to advance in the International Championship Tournament match. Steve Macklin defeated Eddie Edwards and Ace Austin to advance. AJ Francis had defeated Mance Warner and Sammy Callahan to advance. So that's your main event for the night. Sidney Akeem, the former Scripps, debuted against Moose in a singles match. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Santana and the Hardys defeated Mustafa Ali and the Nemeth brothers in what was a fine match. I wouldn't say it was anything spectacular, but it was fine. Joe Hendry and Masa Slamovich defeated Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard in a solid outing, but nothing to write home about. Sammy Callahan defeated Mance Warner in a brutal barbed wire massacre match, maybe the best match that they've ever had in that regard. Steve Macklin defeated AJ Francis and Eric Young to win the TNA International Championship in the main event. So, what I'll say quickly is Sidney Akeem Scripps was so out of his element. There's a reason why this dude got cut. There's a reason why this dude hasn't signed anywhere. He had a few moments where he showed off his athleticism, but as a worker, he's just not very good. The Santana Hardy's match was slow, but also very good. Santana was working. I think I made the comparison to Dolph Ziggler in Survivor Series 2014. Like the man was just everywhere doing everything. Mike Santana might be their best glue guy going right now. The Sammy Callahan Mance Warner match, I would say, in my honest opinion, might be the best barbed wire massacre match since the first one. And I think really up until what was it, the triple threat match, they've all been good. There was a triple threat barbed wire massacre match that Sammy Callahan and Moose were in, and I think maybe even Macklin. That one wasn't great, but it was fine. The rest of them have all been must see. This, I would say, is either on par with or even surpasses
Yeah,
the original in 2005 between Sabu and Abyss.
yeah, and I do gotta say this right quick, like cause again, the matches and the quality of talent are never in question. This show kind of it was a record scratch for us because of the booking decisions. um, for both of us. But and this is and we usually we usually touch on this and don't necessarily go off into it too deep. And this has helped him because a lot of times I guess, and I just didn't notice it because he oftentimes wears black. I did not know Sammy had gotten that big.
Mm-hmm. Sammy's leg apparently is still pretty much fucked up. He said it's been very hard for him to stay in shape and condition.
Yeah,
But like, if I was TNA manager, I'd be like, Sammy, I'm going to give you 6 months to get yourself, straight because his performances have not been good since he broke his leg, and that's unfortunate. It might be time for Sammy to consider a more permanent position backstage. That being said, I do think this was his best match to date since he broke his leg. I thought it was
yeah.
a very good match, despite the fact that he's clearly not the same wrestler or same athlete he used to be. That being said, I still think this match should have been on what's the upcoming show?
Oh, shoot, Hendry just said it on freaking NXT. Is it Sacrifice?
I think so.
Because it's this Sunday.
Is it Genesis? Man,
No, that's in January, isn't
yeah, it used to be in November. So like, how the fuck can you keep up anymore? It's against
it?
all under.
Rebellion.
I was wrong on all those accounts.
It's Rebellion on the 27th. It's Rebellion.
With fucking Ethan Page, I swear to God, he's gonna win this match. Oh my God, if that happens, I'm fucking not covering this. But like, I thought the barbed wire masker match should have been on Rebellion. You didn't need the 4-way knockouts tag team titles. Most of them are in NXT talents anyway. Get it the fuck off the TV screen. I don't give a shit about them. You know, you have a 6-woman tag match with Fatal Influence. I don't give a shit about them. Get them off the fucking card. Put Barbed Wire Massacre on the pay per view. That would have been the first thing I've made. You could have moved the Knockouts tag team match and the 6-woman tag match to this event, to Unbreakable. I think that would have made more sense. That being said, the biggest sin that this company committed on this card isn't the fact that they wasted a tier, S tier pay per view concept like Barbed Wire Massacre on a free show. Although Mance and Sammy killed it, they were bleeding literally 90 seconds into the match. The biggest sin that they committed was putting guys like AJ Francis, Eric Young, and Steve Macklin in the Unbreakable title picture. The whole theme of the event was that it was honoring the 20-year anniversary, which we're not even there yet technically, of the 2005 Unbreakable event from September of that year that featured Styles, Daniels, and Joe. They had arguably one of the best matches in TNA history with the X Division on the line. And the whole concept of this pay per view was to pay homage to that. Yet they paid homage by putting 3 of the stiffest, most unimpressive workers in the company in the main event.
it?
Fucking stupid. Now, of the 9 names given, the 3 you put in the main event are Eddie Edwards, Mance Warner, and Ace Austin. Now, if I had other names, I would have put other names in there. But of the 9 you gave me, that's the 9 I would have gone with, or that's the 3 I would have gone with. Instead, we got fucking JDC. We got Sammy Callahan, not great. But what I would have done is I would have had Zachary Wentz, I would have had Ace Austin, and I would have had probably AJ Francis because of course they're doing the barbed wire massacre, so like you can't have Mance or Sammy. And with Zach, with Ace and AJ Francis, you have Ace Austin win. And he didn't even make it to the dance. Instead, fucking Steve Macklin did.
Wait a minute. So the final 3 came down to who? Macklin, Young, and AJ, right?
Yeah, Francis, not Styles.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta. I mean, look, I gotta tip my hat to AJ. He has. I gotta admit, he has impressed me on his TNA run, particularly with his work with Casey Navarro. Um, but considering the fact that this is based off a show that was but highlighted the X Division in the main event, you would think it would be simple and really a layup to have the final 3 with a title on the line like I said, honoring the event, um, or just a title on the line because it's the international title, you would have the final three be former X Division guys.
Hmm.
That would seem like simple as to me. Ace Austin, um, you said it was Zachary Wentz, and who else? If he was still there, definitely Rich Swann, if he was still there, or something to that effect. Oh no, to your point, um, Ace Austin, Zachary Wentz, Eddie Edwards.
Yeah.
That's easy money. That's easy money.
Hmm. Instead we get more of
JDC,
these Fed rejects like Macklin and Francis.
JDC. Now I tend to be more sympathetic for Macklin, but no, like he didn't need like you honoring an event that highlighted the X division, and it kind of goes without saying that it's time for Ace Austin to evolve past that,
Hmm.
which this opportunity easily presented. And to your point, didn't after that match a certain individual came out?
For what match?
Didn't after they crowned the international champion, or sometime within the show, didn't Bay come out?
Yeah.
You know
Uh,
how great it would have been of a moment for that.
I think Bay came out before the barbed wire masker match with Ace Austin. But you're right. Like, imagine if Bay comes out, cuts that promo, you know, then you go into the main event with Ace in the main event, and Ace wins, and then Bay gets in the ring for the
Come,
first time to celebrate with someone who he calls a brother. Like it writes itself, and the only
itself.
reason it doesn't work is because you're too stupid to hear the dog barking. Lassie is telling you that Timmy's in the well, and he's not barking. He's not even writing it. He's speaking clear and proper English. Sir, your son has fallen in the well. I, the dog, has come to get to get him out of the well. We should go. And the farmer's like, "No." And then Timmy dies. And that's that. This is the wrestling version of letting Timmy die. You fucking idiots. Uh, Rebellion looks to be a better show on paper, and while the main event makes me want to, slam things into the wall, and the abundance of NXT women who are likely going to win and piss me off something fierce. Like, this might be a show of just terrible booking. I could very easily see Moose or Matt Cardona winning the X Division title. Fatal Influence winning. I could see Ash by not Ash. I could see the Metaphor or Gigi and Tatum winning. I could see the Nemesis winning, although that wouldn't be the worst thing. I could see Tessa winning, and I could see Ethan Page winning. That's like the Blues Clues of bad events. Can you find the bad decisions? That's right,
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah. Like I said, what we just talked about on Unbreakable, the layup that we just laid, that was a free show. That actually, the way we laid that out, it actually felt like a pay per view. Um, but that I'm thinking about the way that it ended up being booked. I'm kind of glad it was a free show because it was, like I said, it was hard. But that was easy as Chad has gotten on the website and reworked whole divisions for this company.
It's not
What we
hard.
just laid out was literally 1 plus 1. This was as easy as when Zed sent them new putties, and it was hard at first, and then everybody like, oh, just punch the big ass Z in the middle. It was that easy.
Yeah, they nerfed those buddies really fast.
This whole show we just talked about on paper could have been completely unmoored fights. You didn't want to go that way. Now we talking about rebellion, and sadly, Chad may have just laid out. I'm not the biggest fan of Ash by Elegance, but I do feel like the titles need to stay on the home team. But I just wouldn't be mad at Jakara and Lash because I see how they worked, and they clearly don't have a narrative for them winning those damn tag team titles in WWE for whatever final reason.
Marcus,
Um,
you know the reason why they won't win those titles.
thanks for bringing that up. My brain tried to protect me and blocked it out.
That's what I'm here
Um,
for. I'm here to ruin your nights.
exactly. Steve Young versus Macklin versus Eric Young is this feels like a middle finger to Chad at this point. Um,
Someone needs to send Ron Stoppable's naked mole rat back to Triple H. Eric Young
Oh
is the
man.
biggest definition of who you know, not what you do in wrestling. He had a little bit of a gimmick in 2006 when he dyed his hair black and he was "Don't fire Eric." But like outside of that, man, ugh. Let's
He,
move on.
dude, he used to be like he used to be so like I said, it felt like we used to talk about him so positively, like he had lived like 4 or 5 different lives across TNA with the innocent EY, and then I guess whatever the Canadian EY, the innocent EY, the Super Eric, the guy with ODB, the you can put a whole family of birds in my beard EY that ended up winning a TNA World Champion that had like 2 or 3 shows on the network at the same time, and now I don't even know what to call it. And Macklin's clearly one of the most consistent guys, but where are you ultimately going with him? Um, this was, I guess, putting the international championship on him was cool, but again, we both had to go in a different direction. The Hardys and the Nimbus, that probably gonna be a great match. I don't know if they're gonna drop the titles off the Hardys. I can see it if they cheat. I'm almost scared for the turnout with the women because I mean Tessa's, the whole narrative with Tessa is, up the creek without a paddle, and at this point, all the discussion we just had for 40 minutes, you couldn't get me to argue a Cass win. Particularly, I would hope that they would pay off to call your shot. So,
You're not wrong. Let's shift gears real quick to two other events that happened this week, and then I want to talk about. First and foremost, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 13. This show is cooked. Um, on every single match until the final two, you had a WWE talent, save for the opener. So you had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven straight matches of WWE talents. Layla Hirsch defeated Jordan Blade in the opener. That would mark the first and only women's match on this card that did not have a WWE talent. The second match had Micah defeating Carmen Petrovich, who was with NXT. Micah wins. From that point on, the next 6 WWE-based matches will not see a WWE wrestler lose. Charlie Dempsey defeated Shinya Aoki. And let me be very clear. This is supposed to be a worked shoot gimmick. Shinya Aoki is legitimately one of the greatest lightweight and featherweight wrestlers to ever exist in terms of like Japanese MMA. In terms of grappling, submission, as Skip Bayless likes to say, sumo wrestling. Shinya Aoki is amazing. He is legitimately one of the best submission workers for the lighter weight classes in the history of the game, bar none, no company included or excluded. Charlie Dempsey does not win this match if he has 9 minutes to beat Shinya Aoki with a kendo stick prior to the actual fights. So the idea that Charlie Dempsey beats Shinya Aoki is a fucking joke. And that's what I'm going to say about that. Karrion Kross defeated JR Kratos. That's like this. The next two are like the only two that you could say like, yes, this should have been the WWE talents that won. I like JR Kratos. JR Kratos looks like an overblown ham. He looks like he needs to take a rest at the top of the staircase. Karrion Kross looks like one of the most violent, vicious human beings in the world. So yeah, it makes sense that Karrion wins. Pete Dunne and Tim Thatcher had a really solid match. Not a great match, but a solid match. And Pete Dunne went over. Timothy Thatcher might be a member of Evolve or the backstage crew of WWE right now. Who knows? So that's kind of a wash. For some reason, the people on Cage Match gave Natty Neidhart a 7.2 match quality over Miyu Yamashita. I've watched this match. Natty is fucking washed. Anyone who watched this match and said, yeah, Natty is great today, is only saying it because they have an affinity for the WWE or for Natty. This is, again, a work shoot environment. Like, it's supposed to look like real wrestling. Instead, Natty's doing like fucking airplane spins on top of Miyu Yamashita. Every time, and I think at one point, Natty's attire was terrible, and then I think she caught Miyu Yamashita with a solid hook because from that point on, Yamashita started to legitimately beat up Natty on occasion, and you could tell she did not have the ability to take a hit because she would like wince and like cover up, and then she'd try to act tough, and then she'd throw these really bad punches, and I'm like, what are you doing? And like she would do like these elaborate like twisting, spinning. You give me your hand so I can rotate myself type of submission holds, and Yamashita's just hitting fucking guillotines because like in a real fight you're not going to be like, let me do this elaborate Simon Gotch arm twist. It's going to be I'm going to break your knuckle or your wrist and then we're going to call it a day. Natty looked awful. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that one, but I think it's recency bias. I think they haven't seen Natty wrestle in a while. So they're like, oh, it's so great to see Natty. And instead, I'm like, she wrestled this like this was a WWE match. And you can tell. And if that's what you like, that's cool. That's not what Bloodsport is. So, like, fuck that.
Oh,
Um,
so she treated it like Raw Underground,
oh,
and that's what.
that's exactly. Dude, she did the sharpshooter. I'm sorry, but no one in a real fight is going to allow somebody to lift your legs up and put your leg through. What is that? That doesn't really happen. My favorite part is like the ending came when Natty was trying to do the spot where she kicks Yamashita into the corner because there's no ropes in Bloodsport, but there's still corner turnbuckles because you need the corner to actually keep the ring in place. And it was supposed to be this thing where she kicks Yamashita off into the turnbuckle and then she gets hurt in the submission hold, but they fucked it up, so they did it again, and then Natty decided to like put her in the sharpshooter, but Yamashita was still clearly conscious. And then she turned her, and then Yamashita kind of like floundered like a fish for 3 seconds, and then she went, bleh. And Natty won by technical submission because Yamashita passed out from the sharpshooter after 2.5 seconds. It was a fucking joke. Oh, I hated this match.
So, quick question, because this will be my full on. That I'm gonna attempt to watch the full show. Is it usually is these matches usually work shoots within Bloodsport, or this is just clearly a catering event for them?
No, it's supposed to be a work shoot environment. A lot of Josh Barnett's early blood sports featured a lot of ex MMA guys and a lot of skilled grapplers in jiu-jitsu or submission grappling because that's the idea of the gimmick. Or they would bring guys like D.H. Smith, Davey Boy Jr., Karrion Cross, guys with legitimate backgrounds in submission grappling, in Taekwondo, BJJ, other types of martial arts. Speedball Mike Bailey was I think did a few shows. So they always had an actual athletic background in combat sports to some degree, and it always made for some exciting matches. Now a lot of these people, like Tavion Heights, I think is a amateur wrestler. Shayna Baszler was a former MMA fighter. A lot of these people do have that background. But like Natty Neidhart has always just been a pro wrestler. I think she was maybe on her high school wrestling team, but that was fucking nearly 30
Yeah,
years ago.
I wonder how long this has been in the works because, like I said, one of the last appearances. Because you asked me like, what was her last big match, and I told you it was that I saw was when she went to NXT and fought Lola Vice in the underground match. So I wonder how long this has been in the works. Because that hindsight, that almost feels like prep for this.
Yeah. I don't know if those two. I don't think it was that far in advance, but
Yeah.
it wasn't good. Tavian Heights defeated Royce Isaacs, which again, fucking stupid. Like, do you even know who Tavian Heights is? I don't. I had to look him up. I know who Royce
Nope.
Isaacs is. He was part of Clearly Business or Risky Business or Business, whatever that NWA team was, because he was a tag team partner with Tom Latimer. Strictly Business, that's what it was. He was actually the member of the NWA World Tag Team titles. I don't know who the fuck Tavian Heights is. He's been wrestling for 4 years and he only has 100 matches. So like, most people don't know who Tavian Heights is. Shayna Baszler defeated Konami. Um, you can skip all these matches. None of these are good. The Dunn Thatcher is fine, but none of them are good. Ignore the 7.02 score that Neidhart and Yamashita have. That's a lie. The two main event matches I do think are good. Sabre Jr. And Gresham, and then Barnett and Gabe Kidd were the main events. Those are two good matches I would recommend watching. Um, well worth your time. Bloodsport actually outdrew all the other GCW events. I think, last checked, it was the top seller according to that Wrestling Tickets Twitter page that posts. So I mean that's cool. I love Bloodsport, so like more Bloodsport, please. But the other big GCW moment of the week was Joey Janela Spring Break, where the main event featured 60-year-old Sabu versus Joey Janela in a barbed wire match. So it's not good. There was a run in after 5 minutes. The Sandman came down, and that ate up another 6 minutes. Like the entrance alone just ate up 6 minutes. And it went 17 total minutes. And I would say maybe half of that was Janela and Sabu fighting. But in what I have to assume is one of the gnarliest spots of Sabu's career, they set up a little tiny table or wedge piece with barbed wire on the bottom rope, and Janela whipped Sabu into it with the idea that he would hit it and bounce back, off of it into the ring. Instead, he broke the board and went straight to the floor head first, and he cracked his head on the concrete because GCW doesn't do protective padding. And I don't think he did, but it looked like he busted his head open on the back of his skull when he landed. But I think the spot was already there when he landed. And it was just like a poor spot to land in because it made people think that he did bust his head open. He may have. I don't think he did. But the first thing they did was, apply a towel to the back of his head. Now, luckily, it was the spot that called out the first set of running guys. So at least you had that. But, like, for the most part, like, this match was hard to watch. Though, I will say for Sabu's career, it was a fitting final match. Because it was terribly uncomfortable to watch. Like most Sabu matches were.
Yeah, I was gonna say because this is the man that notoriously, what crazy glued his ribs back together, something to that effect.
It's crazy glued or stapled his bicep back together.
Yeah, so it's
He's unhinged. Oh, he's absolutely unhinged.
yeah, his doctors must love him. Or whatever team or solo person because I don't know if he even goes. But yeah, I mean if you go out with a bang, but not necessarily a skull fracture. But what are you gonna do, man? Probably not held back on anything since he was a kid.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about the acquisition of AAA and what it really means to pro wrestling and why you should not be happy about it for every reason possible. With that being said, though, is there anything quick you want to touch on before we leave?
Shit, anything happening? Anything out? No, that's pretty much it. Like you said, we'll touch the AAA thing because that's gonna be an extensive dialogue. I'm looking forward to hearing from Chad because I know he can probably go off the top of the dome with it, but knowing him, he's gonna do research and look forward to whatever comes out this week. And obviously we'll
I think we
pay
lost
per view.
Marcus. We lost you for a moment.
We back?
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we should be probably doing obviously Chad's extensive talk about AAA, and then we should be doing I guess a Rebellion review.
Yeah, I think that those will be the two things we touch on. We'll do a Rebellion review and we'll do a AAA conversation. We might make those separate uploads to YouTube, but they'll be on
Yeah.
on a singular stream, so you don't need to do 2 nights of us. It'll just be on two different videos more than likely.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chad's gonna go off into well, please watch more wrestling besides One Fed or The Fed because it's being gobbled to up to high hell, and you just if you love it, you try to watch all of it if you can, or most of it. But you just oh man, get your head out of the matrix because it was bad this weekend. It was bad.
Yeah, I have been trying to watch the WWE still only because that's the mantra I keep is to watch more wrestling. I think I'm done
Yeah,
with that company, at least until ownership or management changes, because quite frankly, it's unbearable, and they've become just terrible people. And they've just really let you know that you're not who they want anymore, and that's fine. I'll watch TNA. I'll watch MLW. I'll watch NWA. I'll watch AEW. I'll watch New Japan, Noah, All Japan,
Yeah,
CMLL. I'll keep watching what I'm watching. I don't need to watch WWE. It's like I'm good. I'm good. With that being said, we're off for the night. Find us on Twitter at NERDCRP. Find us on the website at realnerdcorp.com. We're also on Twitch and YouTube at Wrestling Underground. Marcus, you're on Twitter at ParadoxKid, PARADOXKID.
that's me.
That's PARADOXKID. Paradox Kid. Yeah, I said that right. I hiccuped in the middle of that. You can also find them on other podcasts, The True Painter Show. They do a lot of Japanese pro wrestling conversations, a lot of GLEAT. I think GLEAT is what, China? Or is GLEAT Japan? I think GLEAT's Japan.
Yeah, at least Japan. We on Wrestle Universe now talking a lot of Sendai girls, and then we talking about some upcoming Noah shows and stuff like that. So yeah, I look forward to that.
Should be a lot of fun. With that being said, what I will say is we'll talk more about AAA and No Surrender. Is that what we're on? Rebellion.
Yeah,
We'll talk about AAA and Rebellion next
good.
week. But with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling, but not the Fed. And we'll see you guys next week. Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.